and welcome back to The Third Seat for leaders navigating the chaos of growth. This is a podcast for the accidental leaders, the rebellious founders, and the CEOs of high-growth businesses who've built a juggernaut and are now trying to keep up with it. Today, I'm talking to Keiran Hewkin, co-founder and CEO of Swyft, which is a sofa-in-a-box company founded in 2019 that has grown from a group of friends trying something to see if it works to a business of more than 50 people and 35 million turnover in 6 years. I think they would all agree that for a while their business felt like it was getting out of hand. Over time, they've had to shift from try anything to trying to create a business that's stable. So we're going to be talking about all of that. We're going to get under the skin of what happens when you realise that you need to shift your leadership style and shed your skin, if you like. The moment you realise that culture isn't just words on a page, it's something more than that, and it needs to be really intentional. And Keiran will talk about the fact that consistently he's asked himself the question, would I work for me? So take your seat. Let's get started. I'm here with Keiran Hewkin from Swyft, and we are going to be talking today about your amazing growth story. But I'm not going to ask you questions from the point of view of how you achieved that growth, because I think that you've probably answered that question before. For Third House, we're going to think about your leadership journey and how it's felt to lead a business through from that inception point, through that mad, chaotic growth journey, and into having quite a sizable team now.
Yeah.
50 odd?
Last count, maybe even more, maybe close to 60 now, yeah.
Wow. So. That's huge.
Yeah, I was just saying to someone before we came in, I haven't spoken to in a few years, and he said, how's it going? And kind of gave him a very brief synopsis, and I could probably summarize it as, there's a group of close friends tried to do something and it really got out of hand very quickly. And now here we are. Would be the best way to describe it.
You are a leader.
Yeah, and everything's got a bit out of hand.
So how have you managed to keep sane during all of that? Because that is, it does feel like that.
Yeah. Well, I've got a very long-suffering wife, first and foremost, so I would recommend for anyone going on an entrepreneurial journey to get one of those. Or partner of choice, but definitely some good kind of home structure. Yeah, I guess it's just a case of trying not to take it all too personally, realizing that just like everything else, you have good bits and bad bits, and they come and go. Most of it's outside of your control anyway.
Yeah.
That you have to go through it. And if things are bad, there will be some learning in it. Don't let the fact that it feels like a firestorm make you kind of shut down. There'll be an answer in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And tough times they do pass, I guess.
Yeah. How do you find those answers? Is that in the moment, or do you reflect?
No, I'd say actually in the moment. You will find most of it there and then. It's something, especially, I think the frequency of problems when you're a smaller business are much faster, but then the fixes can be done quicker. So one thing I've noticed is like the cadence of issues presenting themselves, whether it's people or processes or product, it was a lot faster, and it was more reactive earlier on in the business than it is now. Now the problems are potentially bigger. They come at you a bit slower. The fixes take longer, but the whole reactionary process is the same. You need to be there and be present and be in it and try and identify what it is and look at it with curiosity. The big one, curiosity is the big one. Like, it's the best leadership trait you can have. So you can be curious about your situation. You will find something of value in it.
Yeah. I've always thought that having a background in supply chain, which I do and you do, is really helpful.
Yeah, big up the supply chain guys.
Yeah, but look, always having that root cause mindset of what's actually, what's at the root of what's happening and trying to...
Yeah, I think in supply chain, rather than sales, the real benefit you have is in sales, there's always another there's a person or a decision maker that isn't in your control that can really screw up your day or your quarter or your year, like a customer. Yeah. Completely free will of their own, really annoying. But in supply chain, like you don't have that. You just, every problem is viewed as ultimately solvable with the right application of skill, tenacity, and analysis. So like that doesn't leave you when you stop being in supply chain. I think it's a great basis for whatever comes up. You just view, your automatic mindset is, well, this will be a solvable problem. There's nothing that can't be fixed here with the right application of one of those things. And I think if you come through a commercial only platform, there's always that huge variable that you're not in control of that can really sway it. So you're less sure of yourself that you'll be able to solve it. And whether it's rightly or wrongly, whether you think you can or you can't, you're probably right, I guess. That supply chain background has just meant I view everything as eminently solvable with something. Yeah.
We'll come back to that in a minute, because I think that's probably something that has the potential to be overplayed, that it's all solvable. Before we go any further, I'm going to take you right back to the very beginning and think about those early days when you realised you were onto something and you realised Swyft was really starting to move at pace. How did that feel?
I can tell you exactly how it felt, because I was in a meeting with our chairman at the time, who was preparing us for a very challenging board meeting with our investors. And one of our first employees, James, came running into the room without knocking on the door and gave me a great big hug and said, "We fucking did it." We turned the website on that morning to test some things we could only test in live, and someone found us and bought a sofa that afternoon.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And I just remember thinking, like, it was the first thing I'd ever done in this industry where it felt like we had a tailwind. Everything I'd done until then felt like every yard was just really hard earned. And that was amazing. That quickly led to loads of other problems. We didn't have the item. We had to fly it to Heathrow, and we had to get it to the customer, who ultimately was very happy, but it was about a day late, which really annoyed me. But yeah, that was the first point. I thought we might be onto something, and it carried on. It wasn't just that first instance. I can't describe it very well, which isn't a great answer to your question, but Swyft has something, and whatever it is, it's got it, and it's lightning in a bottle. Call it what you want. We're having our moment in time, and it does make things a lot easier. And I only know that it's a lot easier and Swyft has something special because I've had instances before where you haven't, and you go through the same motions, you put in the same amount of effort, if not more, and get less of a result out the other end. What you work on is really important, and you can't plan for it sometimes.
That must be a really kind of interesting place to be, because presumably that feels like magic to an extent.
Yeah, that would be a good way of describing it.
Without really knowing what's at the kind of root of that.
Yeah, I guess you can't distill it down, but, I guess a little bit of alchemy, and it's a little bit of gut feel, and the product's right, and the market fit's right, and the route to market's right, and the team's right. And yeah, it is hard. And I say to my team often is that, we are having our moment in time. We should ride it, be grateful for it, and, treat it with respect, and take the work really seriously and ourselves not seriously at all. And if we do that, then we can hopefully bundle this lightning in a bottle over the finish line, whatever that finish is for us as individuals. That, this probably sounds utterly ridiculous. There'll be people listening thinking, but it's just a small business still, and it's just furniture or whatever. But for us, and for me, I very much believe, I feel I could go through the whole of the rest of my career and I would never have a team like this, with a product like this, that's growing like this. We should just enjoy this moment. It's really, really is a wonderful place to be, and we're very lucky.
Right place, right time.
Right place, right time.
Right
product,
people.
Right people.
And how do you find those people? Because I think that point around it being magic means there's a spell that you don't want to break, right? So finding the right people that you can even have that conversation with that you just mentioned a second ago about, we're in the right place, let's just enjoy it. That's easier said than done. So how do you find the right people to be part of that winning team or magical team?
Yeah, magical sounds really wishy-washy.
It does, doesn't it?
It's bloody hard work, I tell you that. We work really hard.
Yeah.
And, I think a part of the success we've had has been as a result of the fact that the work has fueled the success, which has fueled more work. And now we're so desperate to keep it going and not let this opportunity pass us up that we work even harder still. I think with the people side, we're culture first business. We optimize for cultural fit over skill set all the time. There is no exception to that. When you're in the business, you're judged as a cultural fit before anything else. And we stick to it pretty much religiously, and that means making hard decisions on who you keep as well. I'm very much an advocate that, just because someone's not right for us, they could be great somewhere else, and they'd be much happier being great somewhere else than they would not being the right fit for Swyft. So yeah, we hire for culture and we promote for it and we keep for it. And that's it. The fact you should be an A-level performer and deliver a great job is a given. The cultural part is the bit that you have to pass the exam every day, really.
When did you crystallize that then? Because I think that's something that a lot of really successful businesses talk about, having a great culture, but it's not as easily won, is it, as just sort of putting words on a page?
Yeah, well, I've now put words on a page for it, and I think I've shared them with you before, and I tried to get it on one side of A4, and it's called my hiring one-pager, and like all good one-pagers, it's 2 pages, so so I can't even keep myself succinct on it. But I think it was really around kind of between 3 and 4 years into the business, as it got big enough where I couldn't just be the point person for all of the relationships. And, we went through some really hard times and it was all touch and go. And our culture started to suffer and our decisions as a business started to suffer. And to this day, I probably don't know whether or not the poor decisions were because the culture broke down or the culture broke down because of the poor decisions, but it all started to feel a bit off. And I remember spending like 3 hours on the phone to John, our design director, and we just couldn't quite put our finger on it, but we knew that something wasn't right, and whatever it was, we'd lost it. And it was really upsetting. And it was at that point where I thought, like, this isn't worth doing unless we can get back to that. So let's have that as our North Star. And then the rest will either take care of itself or it won't. And we'll either get back to it and it will be great again, or we won't get back to it, but it's not worth it at that point. Because, anyone who's been in furniture will probably tell you there's much easier and more fun ways to make money than this. So, it's an extremely tough industry. So like if you're in it for anything other than, I guess the journey and the experience, then it's the wrong industry.
Yeah.
It's too tough.
So I think they call that transition the messy middle, right? That sort of,
Okay.
That transition between, it's felt like it worked naturally until now, and it's sort of starting to creak under the weight of the amount we're trying to do. Does that resonate? What were the things that you did in those moments to move beyond it, apart from having a conversation with John, obviously?
Well, obviously, and then getting, fantastic leadership coaching involved in the business. Is it a plug if it's your own podcast? I don't know. But
you can plug it for me then.
Yeah, I think it was definitely that. Everything else has been a breeze. So I think at the time, pain's a great teacher, right? Like it felt wrong. Yeah. I didn't feel comfortable in my role. I didn't feel comfortable in the team. I didn't feel comfortable in our decisions. Everything was just a bit off. Intuition's good. I think especially people who have been in any form of business for more than kind of 10 to 15 years, like your intuition's probably pretty honed to when the environment isn't right. I think if you're young and just starting, your intuition can be way off. I think, but by the time you've been in business for over a decade, it's probably pretty well honed. So that was definitely part of it. And I took steps to address it and have really open conversations with my leadership team and say, look, something feels wrong here. Is it wrong? And then when once you start pulling at that thread again, back to being curious and following up, those questions lead to other questions. And before you know it, you have quite a long laundry list of things that have just come out. And you think, when you look at them objectively, you're like, this is not who we set out to be. We're launching product that we're not quite happy with. We're getting it to customers in ways that we would never have done before. We are compromising on our messaging. This bit's slightly off on the brand. we're going down avenues that we've ruled out before. Like, you know, all of these small decisions that you've made as a result of that hard time you've gone through, and where the culture was lacking or started to lack, or as I said, I don't know whether it's the culture that went or the decisions that went first, but either way, they went together. And when you looked at it objectively, I was like, this isn't the business we set out to build.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, even for next year, our priority is, you know, making sure that we keep ourselves trim and fit, and we do the things that we're great at and not everything else. And, you know, businesses die from indigestion more than starvation. So we should.
I love that. Is that your line?
No, it's someone famous, but I can't remember who. So maybe we'll research it at the end of the podcast, and you can put it in the notes. But it's probably someone extremely clever and who's considered things. But
we'll look it up. We'll quote them officially.
It's almost always we're doing too much. Whenever I look back, if there is a theme of where our decision making fails and leadership fails, and I have failed the most, it's when we try and dilute our proposition, and we do too much, and we try and stretch into uncomfortable areas for our business. I think businesses get very good at doing what they do at the expense of everything else. And then when you try and do the everything else, you realize that this wonderful business you have to do A is absolutely terrible at delivering B. And
it's drift, isn't it?
Yeah, and you just drift, and you just keep learning that over and over again. And every time you get a bloody nose, you're like, oh yeah, back in my box, you know. Yeah,
it's just fascinating, isn't it? Because that sort of, it must come from that belief that you can make things happen. You know, that belief that everything we touch turns to gold. Let's try and touch some more stuff. And it, yeah,
I think exactly that. And what I'm now more inclined to think, everything we do that is aligned with our values and our way of doing things turns to gold.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, we are at best as good as everyone else, and that's just not good enough.
I was about to ask you how you landed on those values, but I remember doing it with you. And it's really interesting that when I was with the team last week, they were still repeating them back to me.
Oh, thank God for that. That's fantastic. Oh yeah, that lovely leadership meeting that I wasn't a part of, which I was totally fine with, and it definitely didn't affect my ego at all. But again, like the other point in times where I've realised we aren't where we should be is if I'm feeling comfortable or it's feeling comfortable. Yeah. And then you think, okay, we've taken our foot off the gas. We're not at the frontier of what we should be doing as a business. You know, having a leadership team venture without me is probably that next uncomfortable phase that just by its nature is probably the right place to move to.
Yeah. And actually creating a team that, or focusing on creating a team that's greater than the sum of its parts. I think, you know, every business gets to a point where you've got absolutely brilliant individual A players, and it's about making that shift to creating a really cohesive leadership team.
Yeah, and leading a team rather than leading individuals who work together as a team from time to time. That's where I'm at the moment. So we'll see how it goes.
It's interesting though, because I think it's about that sort of what got you here won't get you there thinking, because in order to get to where you've got to have people that can operate completely independently of anybody else, because they have to be able to self-start and get shit done. But then there comes a time where the next phase has to happen, and it's a shift. Yeah,
and I guess it kind of makes sense that all of those tasks that could be done by a well-intentioned, smart, hard-working individual, they've all been done. There isn't that much low-hanging fruit. When we first started the business, we for nearly a year had a rule that we wouldn't start anything we couldn't finish that week, and that kept us extremely focused and meant we delivered lots of high frequency work and made sure that we never got bogged down in stuff that would take too long to pay off, because we just didn't have the time, like we couldn't wait till next month. We didn't have next month unless this month went well.
It's like keep the momentum
but now we don't have many one-day tasks left that we're going to move the needle, so we're going to need to work on bigger things that maybe take a bit longer and might take 8 days instead of 7. I can be reasonable.
Maybe 9.
Yeah, like 9 if it's over a bank holiday, then that's okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. It takes me back to that phrase you always use about wartime versus peacetime leadership. And I think, you do run out of battles and wars to fight.
Yeah, well, we definitely went through wartime for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, it was COVID into inflation, into the housing market being tanked, and we were very much up against it for a long time, and it took its toll on people as well, you know, and myself. I think now it's less of a we have to do X to survive, as more of a, back to what we were saying earlier, is that kind of we want to do ourselves proud, and we have an opportunity here to do something really special.
Yeah.
And we don't want to let that go. And it's a different kind of pressure.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of motivation, but still equally, if not more powerful than just survival, you know.
Yeah, it's totally different mindset, isn't it? So going back to sort of COVID and the other different dips you've been through, or kind of headwinds you've faced into, how did you protect what was brilliant about your team during that time? Because it's really easy to get distracted by those things, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't ever remember consciously doing that. I think I would always make sure I never asked anyone to do something I wasn't prepared to do. So I think that's quite a good way of ensuring you don't break people's kind of buy-in. So that helps. Being very transparent with people about why we're doing stuff and the challenges facing the business. You know, there are some things you don't share with everyone, but like by and large, people know when things are pretty ropey. Like, it's their livelihood.
Yeah, you're close-knit as well, aren't you?
Yeah, and everyone's got a mortgage to pay. Like, everyone knows that, you know, a supplier's been moaning that they haven't been paid, or, you know, the orders didn't hit the number that we needed them to. Like, everyone knows. So, like, trying to pretend otherwise just really sets you back. Everyone's like, well, you're now lying to me, as well as it being shit and hard. So not only is it really hard and really stressful, I'm also getting lied to by my boss. Like, these things aren't good. So I think, you know, being really clear about it. I remember 2022, I came out of a meeting I was really fortunate to have with someone who runs a massive household name business. And he just looked at buying made.com and was looking at Swyft. And he said to me, look, I can't do this right now. You have a great idea, but I think there's, you know, this was pre-inflation, all the war in Ukraine. He said, have a feeling there's a storm coming. If I were you, I would do everything to make sure you survive it. And I left and thought, well, if he's right and I act, I might survive. If he's wrong and I act, I'll have a better business for it anyway. So we had that conversation with the team. I said, this is what I think. This is what I've been told. Let's pretend it's true. And we went for it and we cut loads of cost out. And, you know, 3-4 months later, there was a shock, transitory 7% inflationary print, you know, that everyone thought, oh yeah, we only be a couple of months. And then the whole industry fell apart. Made.com had gone bust about 4 months after that. So did our biggest competitor. And it was purely because that one meeting, and then taking that and thinking, well, what if he's right? And there are no downsides if he is or isn't, if we act. And, you know, the team lay it out. The team came on that journey with us, and it allowed us to get ahead of it in a way that, honestly, I don't think we would have. I'm really not sure we would have made it otherwise. So
that's incredible.
Very fortuitous. But the team got really bought in. You know, I laid it out and said, you know, this person's been doing it for 40 years and, you know, has 100 and something stores around the country. We could reckon we're right, or we could assume he's right.
Yeah.
And we had the humility to kind of go for it and just about scrape through.
Yeah, it's interesting that you use that word humility, because I was just thinking, you know, like, your ego could have stopped you listening quite easily to that, because you could have thought, well, I've grown this in this time, and like, what do you know? It's completely different.
And my investors didn't want me to change path either.
Yeah.
They wanted growth at all costs, and it's okay because money print to go boor and they'll be fine and they'll always be there. And then they weren't. And, you know, and that's another story. But then they weren't there. And then, you know, it just meant that we'd got fit. We had a 6-month head start at it.
Yeah.
And, you know, every consumer business in 23 and 24 had a really rough time, and we managed to get through it.
Amazing. So let's talk about people that give you advice then, because that's interesting. There must be, like, and I think there is in any startup, there's people clamoring to give you advice and get involved and join in, isn't there? How do you sift out the good advice from the bad?
Well, I think it's always good to look at their past record. You know, if you admire what they're advising you about, you admire the results they've had in that given area, that's normally a sign that you should probably listen. You know, that individual I was talking about had built an incredible company that had sustained, 4 recessions. I'd started work in 2009. I was on a production line, so I really had no idea what a recession was going to be like. So
too far away.
Yeah, too far away. All I knew is I needed money to go and drink my way around Europe. And I could do that whether or not there was a housing crisis. Yeah. So I think look at that individual and say, in this area, you don't have to like the individual as a whole or rate them. And I've had some great advice from people that on the whole, like, I don't think they're anything great to admire, but in the particular area, they're extremely knowledgeable and have achieved great results. So that's one area. And the other one is just, motive, like what's their motive for sharing it? Like quite often it can be they're trying to sell you something, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's always wrong, but like you have to have a heavier degree of skepticism. But a lot of the time people just don't want to see you make the same mistakes that they've made. And like, especially when there's no harm to them, to tell you, and there's no benefit for them to tell you, you got to think, well, like, why are they saying this? And actually, genuinely, most people just don't like to see mistakes repeated, and their pain is so great from whatever they went through, they just don't want to see you do it. And that's, like I say when people ask me now and I'm talking to them, and if they've got a small business or something, and, they ask about what they should plan for, whether there's a downturn or anything, and I'll pass it on. I'll say, just whatever you think you need to do double that, and if you think you need to do it in 6 months, try and do it in 3, because it will always go against you and it comes at you faster than you think. So I'd look at those things.
Twice as much in half the time.
Yeah, twice. Just whatever you do, it will always take longer than you think. So cut once, cut deep.
Yeah. Hi everybody, just a reminder, I'm Rebecca Morley and we are Third House. We help ambitious entrepreneurs to become better, more intentional leaders. You can find us at wearethirdhouse.com. There you can find a free, really quick 5-minute assessment that you can take to see where you are on your leadership journey and to learn more about working with us to shape your own leadership path. Now back to the episode. So, coming back to you as a leader, well, taking advice is part of that, but you have been quoted as saying, and I know that you've said this to me in various different sessions, all problems are your problem when you're at the top of a business.
Yes.
Past a certain point, though, that starts to creak, doesn't it? Because you can't know everything and be everywhere. So how has your leadership mindset had to shift as Swyft has grown? Because it must have had to a certain extent.
Yeah, it's definitely had to. I definitely do a lot less now, to the point where I probably feel guilty sometimes that I don't have stuff to do. And
identity crisis incoming.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what a fraud, I don't have Business Central open and I haven't got 8 spreadsheets on the go, so therefore I can't be adding value.
Is that true?
No, but it's the internal voice, right?
Yeah, of course.
Although some of my team will tell you that the more I stay out of those systems, the more value I actually do create. It's not my fault they break every time I try and use it. But I think that's a big change. Doing less actual tasks takes some getting used to. And I think I've gone from being very active in the decision making, in the detail, both thinking about what needs to be done and being a part of getting it done, to now trying to transition into keeping myself in good shape, both mentally and physically, so that I can make good decisions when the time comes, and that I can be detached enough to see where we may be off by a few degrees here or there, and we may have made the wrong choices. And I see it very much like my job is to keep myself in a position where I can offer clarity where others in the team might not be able to. I can have a breadth of view and that when the moment comes, I can make the best decision or the least bad decision that's needed for the business. And I'm still on that journey. I think I've got a long way to go. It'll probably never finish.
No, I don't think it will.
All good work, and it just creates more work as well. But that's been the big change, I think, from the idea and illusion, at least, that I could do everyone's jobs in half the time with less effort. And delusion is probably the right word. Delusion might also be the right word, and letting that go and being like, I can't. And also it's very counterproductive. Even if I do.
I mean, there's an argument to say you can, but you can't do all of them all at the same time. And so
no,
you drop.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just some stuff that I'm now just not as good at. And that's totally fine as well.
Yeah. How's that felt then? Because I joked about an identity crisis, but I do think that most of the founders or CEOs we work with start to feel that at that point at which they've got to step away from the detail.
Yeah, well, you're being very polite, but it was an identity crisis for me. And, you were there to kind of patch me up and carry my shattered entrepreneur male ego through it. So yes. I think that, how did it feel? Really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Again, but I knew it wasn't sustainable. And like everything that we do as people, we do it a certain way until the pain of doing it that way becomes too much to bear and we're uncomfortable, and then we have to change.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to identify when that pain or that uncomfort comes sooner so I can change before it becomes a problem for other people. So I'm like, can I pick up on those intuitions a bit sooner and think, okay, this isn't quite working as well as it used to. Maybe I should be preemptive here and adapt, rather than getting to the point where, some people having an intervention with me and being like, come on, back off a bit. I do not need you here. And trying to preempt that. And I'll probably never get it right. And there's also a cost of jumping that gun. If you do it before the business is ready, that will have a cost as well. But I think it's very rare for people to be too soon on it.
Yeah.
I think the chairman who was in the room right back at the beginning when James ran in and gave us a hug, he used to have a great saying, which was, if you think you have a problem, you have a problem.
Yeah, I wrote that down somewhere as well as one of your quotes. I haven't quoted it back to you yet. So you said that work's never done. What's still left to let go of? Because I think, that's the sort of the next phase, isn't it? You talked about the leadership team earlier, but what's next?
I don't know the answer to that question. Okay. I know what I'll probably never let go of, if I can answer with a counterfactual maybe.
Definitely.
The input on hiring.
Yeah.
So cultural fit check. We opened our first shop, and it was great to be involved in the last stage interviews for our shop floor staff. So important we got it right, and we have, and they're amazing.
They're great. I met them all last week.
Exactly right, and they're amazing. And I don't think I'll ever let that go.
No.
Setting incentives, we'll never let that go. Those two things, along with our overall positioning in the market from a product and pricing and proposition, those three things I will probably always hold on to. Everything else, I'm more than happy to admit that people are better than me. And there might be people that are better than me at those three things, but I'm going to stay doing it because I can and I want to.
It's worked so far.
Yeah. So, just I got to do something.
Yeah. And they're big tangible things as well, aren't they? They're the sort of three ingredients to that magic stuff we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I would never forgive myself if I outsourced any of those and it went badly. Like if something's gonna go wrong on those three things, it's sure as hell gonna be me who screws it up.
Yeah. I'm resisting getting into the big juicy question of mishires and whether you've ever but we won't go there. I'm gonna go instead to your rule breaking, sort of slightly rebellious streak, that anti-establishment version of you. Because I think you do have that, and you do like to stick two fingers up to various things.
Yeah, well, a lot of people deserve it. And institutions are the worst, but yeah.
Institutions are the worst. And you've got I think it's the sort of anti-bullshit streak, isn't it? It's the, you won't do I know that you don't do anything for the sake of it, and you won't do things that just feel like they don't fit. So how has that instinct shaped how you lead? Because I think for me, we always set out in Third House to work with disruptive, creative, rebellious people who do call bullshit on bullshit. But often that makes them sit slightly at odds with the mechanics of leading a business in the right way. So how do you strike that balance?
I never like to make anyone feel like they're being criticised as a person for who they are. So I think that's really important, because otherwise it can come across as just like, the baby out with the bathwater. Like, I can argue with people's results and the way in which they've approached something, but I think almost always their intentions will be right. I don't think I've ever, maybe with one exception, met someone who went to work to try and do a bad job. Like, maybe there's one.
We've all had one.
Yeah, right.
But still haven't got to the bottom of any of them.
But when you consider in the thousands of people you meet, everyone wants to come to work to do a good job.
Yeah,
and they want to feel like they've made a difference. So if you assume that when you deal with someone and you have that as a given and you actively call that out, then, the rest is up for discussion. And, I do call stuff out pretty quickly, and I do call it out very bluntly, and I do say this sucks, or we're better than this, and the only acceptable failure rate is 0, and really annoying stuff that I know will never happen. But at the same time, I also like to have an environment where, like, I tell my team it's my responsibility to build an environment where it's reasonable for you to feel safe.
Yeah.
It's not, your happiness is not my responsibility, but it's my job to create an environment where it's reasonable that you can be happy. And they're different things. And, being clear that I take that responsibility, but I will also be very direct when things are not right. And, over a period of time, people will appreciate it.
Yeah.
I hope. And when it comes to people outside the organization, well, they're just not my priority. I just don't care. And, I think that I spend so little time thinking about the competition or what people will think. I care about the customers that ordered yesterday and haven't got their stuff today. And I care about the people who are yet to order this afternoon. And
no one else matters.
That's it. That's where my remit finishes in the world.
And you're true to your word on that. I can see that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Has it ever backfired?
Yeah, I mean, quite often. There's been times where people have been upset. There's been times where I've been really frustrated and can't understand why, other people don't share my viewpoint. It makes me really quite poor with dealing with large organizations.
Yeah.
Because when you're in those large organizations, you have a whole set of incentives and things that drive your behavior that I cannot comprehend, that go against my single-mindedness. Luckily, we've got people in our team that are really good at dealing with people in large organizations. So when we have to do that interaction, the meeting invite skips my inbox, by design, I guess. They don't really want me there anymore, which is fine.
Be unproductive in this meeting.
I will be unhelpful, and that's okay. Like, I know that, and I can't add value there. Because it just doesn't make any sense to me. And I really struggle if I struggle to be involved or put any effort into something that I can't see that the outcome is helpful. I just can't do it.
And do you think any of that has stopped you putting structure into your business in any way, or avoiding process?
Definitely. Yeah. For the first 4 years, everyone was screaming at me. They wanted more process, more procedures, to the point where I think one of my senior members of the team, Ben, he actively still to this day tells people, don't say the P word to Keiran, because he'll switch off or tell you that we don't need this crap and we should just get stuff done. He does say that, doesn't he? I think he pretty much briefs people. Anyway, you couldn't possibly confirm or deny
in on that conversation.
But so it's definitely, there's a double-edged sword to it. It is a double-edged sword, and it's caused problems. And probably left it too late to systemize stuff and to step away. And that was probably the biggest problem after the whole inflationary periods, is that, allowing people to go away and build those processes to do things that were long and complicated and needed that kind of attention. I just assigned no value to it in my own head. And it was probably unfair because... No, it was unfair, because those people, to be successful in their role, as that role had become, needed it. And my distaste for it, meant that it was just, and it is. And, like running a company is a little bit like riding a bike. It goes where you look. And I was looking away from that process wherever possible. So even if they tried, I was probably... The fairest comment would be I was subconsciously not letting us do it. Yeah. But I know there were times I was actively riding against it and deliberately trying to not let it come in. But it came from a place of, we were at war. It was scrappy. We didn't have time for that. There was no grand plan except survive and somehow will this thing into existence. I didn't have time to worry about whether in 6 or 9 months, if we optimize a process today, something would be 1% better. I was just worried about paying everyone at the end of the month. So it wasn't just that I didn't rate it. It was just that I was so far away from thinking on those time horizons.
Yeah, didn't feel like a priority.
Exactly.
And do you think there was also a subconscious belief that processifying it, if I'm allowed to make up that word, would impact that magic spell?
No, I think it was more that it wasn't the magic. It was that it would, by its very nature, close avenues in the future. And I didn't know which way we would need to go. Yeah. I wanted to be as agile as possible for as long as possible. And every process, by its very nature, means that you will have less serendipity and less chance to pivot and to duck and to weave. Everyone's been in an organization or seen an organization that is so steeped in process, you can't change a single thing. No one starts out wanting a company to be like that. No. So I do see it as my job as a founder and CEO. And I don't know how it is to be a CEO rather than a founder CEO, but a founder CEO, my job is to rile against that for as long as possible because all organizations will naturally become big process driven beasts. Yeah. So someone's going to have to try and delay that for as long as we can. And it's going to be me.
And do you think you've got the balance right now between process and agility? I mean, I personally think that if you get the right processes, it makes you more agile. But
I don't know if I'm the right person to answer it. I think you'd probably have to.
What would the team say?
What would the team say? I don't know. But one of the processes we don't have is one of those formal 180 processes at the end of the year. So, I'll never know.
And we never will.
And we never will. No, they can call me up and tell me I suck whenever they want.
Yeah. And they do from time to time.
And they do. Do I think we've got it right? Probably. Probably. We're quite close to it, I think. Yeah. We've overextended ourselves a bit this year, where if we'd adhered to a process we wouldn't have done, and it's had some negative consequences. I was way too aggressive on how much inventory we bought in. Our processes said we shouldn't have done it. I wanted to do it just to see what happened. And now we know. But, we were able to do it. Our processes allowed us to break our own rules.
Yeah.
And we coped, and we did a great job at coping with that. Another favourite saying of mine is that I make loads of mistakes and my ones are big enough that everyone has to help fix them. So,
Oh, he's done it again.
Yeah. Oh, God. He's done the thing again. Yeah. So I think we've got a good balance at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still allowed to break stuff from time to time. And generally speaking, the processes run pretty well.
Yeah. Good. You've got a good team creating them. So last couple of questions for you. And these are sort of quick fire ones. One leadership lesson you wish you'd learned sooner.
You don't have to have all the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a long time, I felt like I was the only one with the answers, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. It's an interesting point, though, isn't it? Because I think, your team, to a large extent, will have looked to you for those answers.
Yeah. And the pressure was on.
Yeah.
But, you know, of all the wonderful things that our business has done, you know, there are such a small number of them were actually my idea. So in hindsight, like in an idea meritocracy and survival of the fittest ideas, then yeah, it's clearly obvious that I don't have all the answers. So
that's quite a difficult lesson to learn, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, you just have to learn it by continually having shitter ideas than other people, and then realizing after a while that, you know, you don't have to have all the answers.
But I suppose past a certain point, there's so much detail in the business that you just can't possibly be aware of.
Yeah.
That detail sits elsewhere, so those decisions naturally will be better made where the detail is.
So then all my job is checking in with people and then tying back to our core values of the business. And when they pitch stuff to me or run things past me, I just guide them and say, well, does that fit in with who we say we are? Is that a Swyft way to do it? Does it fit into our core competencies and what we're great at?
Yeah.
And they say yes or no. And you know, normally in asking that question, if it doesn't, the light bulb goes on pretty quick and everyone goes, oh, sorry. We'll come back with a different option. Or they bring me a problem that's like 98% solved anyway, and we just tweak it together and
get through.
And away we go. So, but you know, also by its nature, there are some problems that just are really tough and need everyone involved, including myself, and that's okay. Like the really tough ones,
big knotty problems.
Yeah, exactly. Ones that need the most amount of reach or the most amount of buy-in.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And I don't think as a CEO you should resent them. Like that's your job. You're there to solve the things that other people can't. It's just how it is. Otherwise,
you like solving problems.
Yeah.
Come full circle.
Yeah, I like solving problems.
How did you, because that point earlier about getting the culture nailed onto one page /2, slightly.
2. Well, that's one with some examples on the back.
Okay. How did you do that? Because I think that's one of the most difficult things to do in business, is to be able to crystallize what really makes you, you.
I took 2 days out.
Did you?
Yeah. I took 2 days out of the business. I went with my business partners and Rich from our team to a course in Cambridge University. So I can tell everyone I went to Cambridge now.
Nice.
Yeah. You know, it was nice. And it was all about lots of things around business. And the most important thing that came from it is it crystallized my behaviors I wanted to see exhibited within the business. And then in writing those down and having a little bit of space, everything else flowed from it. And it just poured out really. And it was done in one go. Nice. And I just knew it was right. Once I finished it, I was like, yeah, this is it. And it felt right.
Brilliant. Creating space for those things is so important.
Really important. And one regret I have this year, that was January of this year, biggest regret I have is I promised myself I'm going to do it another couple of times in the year, like intentionally do it with the leadership team, and we haven't. And it's really, really hacked me off that I didn't do that. So I'm going to book it in for January, get 2 days away with everyone.
You heard it here first, guys.
Exactly. Don't know when this is airing, but if it's February, then cut March. We're going to do it in March.
That was going to be one of my questions, actually. So that's the biggest regret for this year. But what about the whole journey? Any regrets?
No, I think like they would just seem really minuscule given where we've got to, and a bit trivial. I think it would probably trivialize the whole team effort to say there's a regret as such. You know, I've got the same regrets that everyone has in business, and they're normally around not having done stuff sooner, having known something was wrong and not acted, having known we should have done something and not done it. You know, it's the regret of inaction or earlier action that is always the case. So no, I don't have any regrets really.
Good. And then last question, for anyone else who's in that middle bit, that messy middle, that transition between sort of early stage and working at scale, and it's starting to feel slightly off, do you have any advice about what to do, how to spot it and what to do when you've seen it?
Yeah, so I'd say if you find yourself thinking about you a lot, you're probably in the wrong space.
That's
like if you're constantly thinking, I can't get enough time, I can't get through the work, I wish I had better people, something's off.
That's really interesting.
You should spend a lot of time thinking outwards to your team, to your customers, to your organization. So there's that. And then I think also just ask yourself the question, would I work for me? And
what if the answer's no?
Then you're not in a great space. And it doesn't mean you're a bad leader or you're a bad manager or a bad person, but you've got highly skilled people paid sizable amounts of money working for you. If you were in their position, would you be happy with the amount of autonomy you've got, the way that you interact with your boss, how much your boss is involved in? Like, why is my boss in every room with me? Like, can I really be myself if you're always there? So those two things. You spend a lot of time thinking about yourself and feeling sorry for yourself. And would you work for you?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question, because you zoom out then, don't you? And you get that perspective.
Yeah. And I think that's, it translates quite nicely to the business. If you're spending a lot of time talking about the macro, it's the opposite way around. If you're spending a lot of time talking about your competitors or the macro or a customer or this, like, you're probably drifting from your core customer and your core point of being, and you should check yourself a bit.
I love that idea. That sense of hyper focus and always coming back to what's important, I think, is for me, the one big takeaway from this conversation is get really super clear on what's important, and whenever you feel like you're drifting away from it, and to have that sort of consistent check-in, am I drifting? And coming back to what's important.
List the counterfactual, right? Like, if you can't think, okay, what does my business do? List everything you don't want it to be. Fine, just do it that way around, and then whatever's left, and then whatever's left is what you want to do. Like, it's another way to look at it.
Flip the problem on its head.
Exactly.
Love it. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been fun.
I appreciate it. Cheers.
Thank you so much for joining us on The Third Seat. I really hope this conversation gave you some reflection points, some insights, or some inspiration to think about how you can become a more intentional leader. If you have any questions or any reflections, please do get in touch. We love to hear from you, and we'd love to answer some of your questions in a future podcast. In the meantime, follow the show and do join us again for more conversations with scale-up leaders. We've saved you a seat.